What do you think of when you hear GMO? Do you think of something unhealthy, unnatural, an evil scientist injecting mercury into an apple? Food companies are constantly advertising that their products are made without the use of GMOs. As a society, we have started to see these GMOs as negative. It would help if we knew what they are. A GMO, or genetically modified organism, is any organism whose genetic material has been altered using genetic engineering techniques. Genetic engineering is a broad field, stretching from stem cell research to cloning. But today, I want to talk to you about its uses in agriculture. Many people think that GMOs in food are dangerous or unhealthy. In fact, only 34% of teachers and students surveyed in this school believe that GMOs are safe. However, the amount of people who we surveyed who don't understand some basic facts about GMOs is frightening. When asked when GMOs were invented, a faculty member answered, during the war. Let me repeat that. A member of the Mineola High School faculty believes that genetically modified organisms were invented during the war. Whoever you are, if you're out there, please explain yourself. Anyways, I hope to clear up these mistakes and give you a new perspective on the subject. The first misconception is the thought that genetic modification in food is something new and unknown. Just over half of people we surveyed believe that genetically modified food is a recent creation. This is not true. People have been genetically modifying crops through selective breeding for 9 to 11,000 years. On the left side of this image is corn as our ancestors first found it thousands of years ago. On the right side is corn today. None of this newfangled artificial intelligence or nanobots, not even a microscope. If we could genetically modify food successfully using whatever our ancestors had, using modern technology will be just as safe, if not safer, than what came before. Another misconception about genetic modification in food is the thought that DNA is the essence of an organism, something that causes its behavior, development, and identity. Many people believe that transmitting DNA between two separate organisms will cause traits of one to appear in the other. In a study by the Scientific American, over half of a survey sample within the United States believed that a tomato modified with fish DNA would taste like fish. Remember that one, it's coming back later. This line of thought is called psychological essentialism, and it has no basis in fact. It's similar to saying that someone with a pig valve in their heart will grow a snout. Many think of GMOs as a product of corporate greed, meant to make the rich richer. Now, I despise the bourgeoisie as much as you do, but trust me on this one. In many cases, GMOs can be useful to everyone, sometimes even necessary. For example, cheese is made with chymosin, a key enzyme in a substance known as rennet. Until the 1990s, cheese was made by taking rennet from the stomachs of slaughtered calves. However, the supply just couldn't keep up with the demand for cheese. Fortunately, scientists genetically modified bacteria to produce chymosin. Today, these genetically modified bacteria produce 80 to 90% of America's cheese. This new genetically modified cheese-making process is much purer than the last, not to mention more animal and environmentally friendly. Remember a minute ago I mentioned a survey about fish DNA in tomatoes? That example was no accident. One of the anti-GMO movement's biggest points is always about the tomato with modified fish DNA in it. However, this argument has as many holes as the cheese from the last slide. Although scientists have genetically modified a tomato with Arctic fish DNA to make it more frost-resistant, the product wasn't effective and was never commercially released. Additionally, animal DNA in your crops, if it was commercially released, would be nothing to fear. Why? Because animal DNA doesn't exist. All DNA, from the bacteria in your stomach, to the potato chips you have with your lunch, to the largest blue whale, are made of the same basic building blocks: adenine, A, cytosine, C, thymine, T, and guanine, G. There are no different materials in the fish's DNA than the tomatoes. Now I'm showing you some misconceptions about GMOs. I hope some of you who previously thought they were bad can now see their benefits. But what led you to believe that they were bad in the first place? Well, a lot of negative information about GMOs is spread through social media, but the creators of these posts are actually oftentimes paid by companies to do so. These are the companies that pride themselves on being the healthiest or most environmentally friendly, but oftentimes they really aren't. They stand to gain from the public turning against GMOs. So how can you make sure you are getting reliable information? Well, you should use good sources. A source that helped me immensely when writing this TED Talk was GMOanswers.com. It is a collaboration between many biotechnology experts. I promise, I'm not sponsored by them. Any reliable research paper is trustworthy, and you can find good ones through Google Scholar and PubMed, which use software algorithms to find scholarly sources. However, there are also some sources you should avoid. Opinion articles are not reliable, but they are typically labeled, so if you are concerned, just look for the label. Bad news sources such as the Natural News and the Huffington Post should also be avoided. Lastly, Karen on Facebook. You know them. They're super liberal or conservative. Their religion is conspiracy theories. If someone you don't trust is sending you information you don't trust from a source you don't trust it. Some of you may leave this room wanting to stuff your face with every ounce of processed food in your pantry. I'd love if my TED Talk were that influential, but please, don't. I don't want you to leave here believing that GMOs are amazing and perfect, and all GMO-free products are evil and should be illegal. I just want you to see the often lessons side of the story. Hopefully what I've told you helps you make better decisions about genetic engineering in your food and in your life in general. Genetic engineering can feed the hungry. It will help us, not hurt us. Why are we fighting it? Thank you.